Top 10 Most Prohibited Prisons You Are Never Allowed to Visit. In contrast to the top 10 best places for first-time travelers to visit in the world. Or the top 10 best places for first-time travelers to visit in Asia. Prisons are not places that one would willingly choose to visit unless it involves a close relation or friend. However, in our list of the top 10 most prohibited prisons you are never allowed to visit, some prisons have been deemed so dangerous that they do not even risk allowing any visitors into the facility. We at the world's #1 source of research-based content, the Daily Top 10, have compiled this list for you so you can get some inside information on these prisons. Just like the top 10 most dangerous cities in the world. As dangerous as they may become inside prisons. At least these criminals have been identified and have been safely locked away from the public. The world outside poses more threat to the general population as there are unidentified criminals still at large. If you can't believe this, the reports on the news are a testament to this fact. Do you know the top 10 secret locations in the world you never dare to visit? However, we have prisons that are designed to house all kinds of criminals. And out of these, we find a few which are designed specifically for the world's most dangerous criminals. These criminals pose the greatest threat to society. And we can find them here in our list of the top 10 most prohibited prisons you are never allowed to visit. What is the most prohibited prison you are never allowed to visit? Even though we may observe that the world itself is a dangerous place, prisons can be unquestionably the most violent places in the world. The reason for this is that prisons are designed to contain and isolate a large collection of the most dangerous individuals in our society in one place. Although any prison could be considered violent and dangerous, these top 10 most prohibited prisons you are never allowed to visit are undoubtedly the worst as the top 10 world's deadliest and most dangerous terrorist groups. However, we do have a contender for the #1 spot in the list of the top 10 most prohibited prisons you are never allowed to visit. Let's visit there at the end, and now check out the rest of the prisons on our list. But before that, take a look at the top 10 most famous notorious serial killers in the USA. Top 10, Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. This high-security Russian prison houses serial killers, terrorists, and cannibals, a collection of the most dangerous individuals in Russia. Inmates are guarded around the clock and are blindfolded when they are taken out of their holding cells. A lieutenant at the prison has stated to the Mirror UK that the only way to escape is by dying, as Black Dolphin inmates are imprisoned for life. Accordingly, there have never been any reports of escape from this prison. There is a horrifying average of around 5 murders per prisoner in this place. The prison is overseen by Lieutenant Denis Avsyuk, and it houses around 700 inmates. According to an interview done by National Geographic, Lieutenant Avsyuk states, "To call them people, it makes your tongue bend back just to say it. So, it is not a place that you would want to visit anytime soon." Top 9, Kamiti Maximum Security Prison, Kenya. All prisons in Kenya have a reputation for having some of the toughest prisons found in the world. However, Kamiti Maximum Security Prison is the worst. According to one research done as part of the degree of Master of Arts in Human Rights of the University of Nairobi, the prison reports abuse of its inmates. They include denial of access to health services, violent and sometimes fatal assaults on inmates, poor hygiene and unsanitary conditions in prisons, serving low-quality food, and general overcrowding of inmates in accommodation wards. Did you know that Kenya, which has the 17th highest imprisonment rate in Africa, has a prisoner-to-population ratio of 121/100,000? Most importantly, the Kamiti prison, which was built to originally house 1,400 inmates, holds approximately 3,600. Top 8, United States Penitentiary, Terre Haute. The establishment of this prison was approved in 1938 by the President of the time, Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was completed in 1940 as a rehabilitation center, but in July 1993, the government decided that this would be the official site to carry out death penalties and establish the Special Confinement Unit. According to Death Penalty Info, currently around 45 prisoners are on federal death row, most of whom are imprisoned in Terre Haute, Indiana. 16 federal executions by lethal injection have been carried out in the modern era, out of which 13 occurred between July 2020 and January 2021. Top 7, San Quentin State Prison, USA. San Quentin State Prison is the oldest prison in California. It has been in operation since 1854 and houses one of the few execution chambers still in use in the United States. It was originally built as a gas chamber, but now the room is being used to execute lethal injection. All executions in California, male and female, take place at San Quentin. Women executed in California are transported to San Quentin by bus before being put to death. According to the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, men and women were housed here until 1933, when the female prisoners were moved to the newly built women's prison at Tehachapi. This facility provides both outpatient and inpatient mental health services for patients with serious mental disorders. The licensed psychiatric inpatient program at this facility is equipped to provide more intensive treatment for patients who cannot function adequately or be treated successfully in an outpatient program. Top 6. Diyarbakir Prison, Turkey. According to the report in the Daily Sabah published in October 2022, the Diyarbakir prison in Turkey is scheduled to be converted into a museum. However, the long history and reputation of this prison cannot be so easily erased. The prison was under the control of the military junta in the 1980s, and their Kurdish prisoners died from torture, infectious diseases, and suicide. The methods of torture used included sleep deprivation, beating, electrocution, sexual assault and rape, forced living in filth amid excrement, and pulling out of fingernails, toenails, and teeth. One of the individuals detained in prison was Orhan Miroglu, a former member of the ruling Justice and Development Party, AK Party. Miroglu shared his experience with the conditions in the prison, revealing that the prisoners were prohibited from taking showers for 2 years. Additionally, they were compelled to crawl barely on sharp fragments of ice in the yard. Top 5. Mendoza Prison, Argentina. We are halfway through our list of the top 10 most prohibited prisons you are never allowed to visit. Here at number 5, we have the Mendoza Prison in Argentina. According to The Guardian, Pavilion 5 in the prison, which housed some of the most dangerous prisoners in Argentina, was not even visited by guards. The meals for the inmates were placed at a distance from the interior at an agreed spot from which the inmates would retrieve them. Like many of the prisons on our list, this prison also suffers from serious overcrowding. According to Amnesty, 1,600 inmates are imprisoned in Mendoza Prison, which was originally built to house only 600 people. 4 or 5 people are sharing the cells, which measure 2.60 by 1.80 meters each. Hold 4 or 5 inmates who often sleep on the floor and live in indescribable unsanitary conditions. Top 4. Gildani Prison, Georgia. The Gildani Prison has gained notoriety through the scandal which took place in 2012. It was video footage of the prisoners being tortured, taunted, and sexually assaulted by the guards was released to the media, confirming the previously unproven allegations of the mistreatment of the prisoners. Wikipedia. The scandal spread like wildfire through social media before the official news channels, which were pro-government, had a chance to give their biased take on it. As a result of this public exposure, the prison population was halved. There were 24,000 prisoners incarcerated at the time, and many of the most horrendous practices and punishments have effectively disappeared from the system. The change in government in 2012 sparked an improvement in Georgia's prison system, as the new policies took a more serious approach to improve human rights. Top 3. United States Penitentiary, Administrative Maximum Facility, USA. Fondly nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, the United States Penitentiary, Administrative Maximum Facility, ADX, is the highest security prison in the country. It is in Fremont County and is home to some of the United States' most dangerous high-profile criminals, as stated in Uncover Colorado. Fortunately, the security systems at ADX ensure that these criminals are kept locked up safely in this escape-proof institution. The facility is surrounded by 12-foot razor wire fencing, and its 1,400 steel doors, motion detectors, and cameras are all remote-controlled. The prisoners are held in soundproof, 7 by 12-foot cells for 23 hours of the day in permanent lockdown, with no contact with other prisoners. Employees are carefully screened and have little direct contact with inmates. The ADX claim to fame is the imprisonment of high-profile individuals that may be a threat to national or global security. Top 2. Camp 14 Kikin, North Korea. Prisoners in this camp are required to perform unending hard labor as their punishment, often working from 5:30 a.m. to midnight. Even 11-year-old children are set to work after school and rarely get to see their parents. The main purpose of the Kikin internment camp is to keep politically unreliable persons classed unredeemable by the North Korean government, as mentioned in Wikipedia. The prison was established in 1959 and is rumored to hold close to 15,000 prisoners, all serving life sentences. Some of the prisoners are serving 3 generations of punishment, which means that 3 generations of the prisoners' families are also detained even though they have not committed any crime, and are left to die in prison with no chance of release. Induced starvation is another common punishment that drives prisoners to catch and eat rodents, frogs, and snakes. Top 1. Gitarama Prison, Rwanda. The conditions of the prisons on our list so far have been far from ideal. But do you know the state of the most prohibited prison you are never allowed to visit goes the Gitarama Prison in Rwanda? It is a prison that was built to accommodate 600 inmates, but it houses as many as 7,000. The prisoners are forced to stand most of the time because there's no space to sit or lie down. According to the Mirror UK, inmates have been eating the dead to survive. They suffer from appalling medical conditions, and around half a dozen prisoners die each day. The conditions of the prison have been heavily criticized by human rights organizations around the world, but none of these efforts have made any change or improvement to the conditions. According to a report in Ghana Web, the prison does not consist of any sewer system, which means that inmates are walking, mostly barefoot, through their excrements and waste, causing severe gangrene infections among many of the prisoners. What are the most prohibited prisons you are never allowed to visit? The world's most prohibited prisons are shrouded in mystery, and it's fascinating to learn about the many reasons that they are off limits to the general public. From the brutal conditions inside North Korea's Camp 14 to the high-security Black Dolphin prison in Russia, all these prisons are notorious for their harsh treatment of inmates, and they are not places that anyone would ever want to visit. However, it is important to continue to shine a light on these places and work towards creating a more just and humane world for all. Let's take a look at our list of the top 10 most prohibited prisons you are never allowed to visit. 1. Gitarama Prison, Rwanda. 2. Camp 14 Kikin, North Korea. 3. United States Penitentiary, Administrative Maximum Facility, ADX, USA. 4. Bildani Prison, Georgia. 5. Mendoza Prison, Argentina. 6. Diyarbakir Prison, Turkey. 7. San Quentin State Prison, USA. 8. United States Penitentiary, Terre Haute. 9. Kamiti Maximum Security Prison, Kenya. 10. Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. As we come to the end, let us keep in mind that as a society it is our responsibility to provide humane treatment and rehabilitation to those who have been incarcerated, regardless of the severity of their offenses. Perhaps, by showing a little compassion, we can help them find their way back to the world outside and contribute positively to our communities. Please share your thoughts in the comments below, as we at the Daily Top 10 love to hear from our readers. However, if you love to watch more mysterious videos like this, we suggest you check out the top 10 deadliest and dangerous substances no one can hide from. Top 10 most dangerous active volcanoes in Asia.